A Mormon missionary moves to Los Angeles and meets a gay man, and his life is forever changed. This is 2003's Latter Days. And in this film, you might recognize some familiar faces. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But at the heart of the film, you have these two characters that are just trying to be together despite some very difficult circumstances that they're in. One of them being that the character is a Mormon, obviously. Now, even though this movie is a bit over the top and unrealistic, that's not to say I didn't have a good time with it. I had been aware of this film, but I had been avoiding it for some time, and it's mostly due to aesthetic reasons. It did not just looks like it is one of those early 2000 films that have that soap opera video-like feeling, and you feel like it's just going to be a bunch of surface level stuff. And some of my fears were validated, but overall I had a great time watching this. Do I recommend it for everybody? I would say there are some caveats, and I would like to talk to you about them. There is a moment with heavy subject matter involving self-harm, and I did think that was falling in line with what I'm saying about the soap opera aspect of this film. If that bothers you, that's something to note. Just want to give you a little warning. I will be talking about minor spoilers. I will be trying to avoid major plot points, but just so you know, that's what I'll do. So this movie just right away gets the story going, really fast pacing, and you don't really feel like you have enough time to get to know the characters. And if you have a chart, for instance, you have Weekend being an example of like the most naturalistic, realistic, documentary almost-esque capture of two people getting to know each other. Then you have this film, which is more of a soap opera, kind of more plot important film, as opposed to letting the characters really feel like this is how two human beings meet. Now, this is not a knock on the film, because it is difficult to write soap opera stuff to make compelling, because a lot of soap operas, they live and breathe on drama, on plot, on keeping things moving forward, and I feel like this movie's fuel is that. Now, there are plenty of gay love scenes in this film, plenty of them, and the two main characters are very beautiful characters, so it was great to see a movie that came out in 2003 that had kind of like unashamed in showing gay love scenes. It's tasteful. The love scenes are very tasteful. It's not gratuitous in any way, even though I'm okay with that too sometimes. But this is a very tasteful way to make sex scenes, and they're funny. There's even a moment where the two characters are having sex, and one looks at like his watch. He goes, "Oh, I can't believe it's been 2 hours." So Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, he is one of the supporting characters, and he plays a Mormon missionary as well, and he is kind of one note, and that's a good example of this. A lot of these characters do feel like they are surface level caricatures. Again, it sounds like I didn't enjoy them. Not every single movie has to be a Weekend. Not every single movie has to be a realistic portrayal of people, because you could just have movies that are like this, that are just a lot of fun. There's a scene that happens that they keep cutting back to, with one of the main characters works at a restaurant, and a lot of this did feel like a sitcom, and you could even probably put a laugh track underneath it and it would fit. And yeah, there's a lot of corny scenes that happen here. I mean, there's one that comes to mind that happens when a character cuts himself and there's blood and then he just faints. I mean, there's some really corny stuff, no doubt, and there's some cutaway scenes that happen that, I don't know, it's not ridiculous in a bad way. It's kind of a ridiculous in a fun way. I did find myself laughing out loud during certain parts. And even though this movie does deal with caricatures and things play out in the way that you kind of would expect, especially being the Mormon background and the character and his parents and their reaction to it, you could kind of put those pieces in your head before the scene even gets to it. Even though this movie does have a feeling of direct-to-video, it wasn't. It actually had a theatrical distribution, and I believe Roger Ebert gave it a whopping 2 stars, and I don't think he saw the value of it that I do see now. And it's not a groundbreaking film, aside from maybe the groundbreaking idea that it was a gay film during a time when there weren't a lot of gay films. But what's really interesting is the last 30 minutes of the film, I feel like really made up for it in a lot of ways, and it really did make me want to talk about it, because those last 30 minutes, there is something that happens in those last 30 minutes, and a lot of people could write it off as being kind of ridiculous or coincidental, and that criticism is totally valid. But there is somebody, I forgot who said this, but when coincidence happens in a film, and it is in favor of the main character, we kind of don't believe it. When coincidence happens and it's against the main character's pursuits, it's more believable. And you could kind of roll your eyes at this being too good to be true, but it does go thematically with what preceded before it in this ridiculous, campy quality that the film has. You can just enjoy these movies just on a nice Friday night and just kind of put it on and watch it with your friends. And this is just a good time. And movies that not necessarily work in that realism don't get the credit sometimes in the writing. And it's great to see movies like this that don't always have to be one thing. They can work on different levels. Should you watch this movie? I didn't regret watching this movie. I actually had a good time watching it. And as long as you know that it's not a slice of life, reality-based approach, and it's working in this frivolous, fun, humorous way where you don't have to put a lot of effort into. And so I'm very open-minded when it comes to stuff like that. I know other people could just say that this movie is just really cheesy and it just completely doesn't work. I understand that. But if you don't like every single movie to be a mirror of reality, then this movie is probably something that you'd want to consider watching.